Hello, this is Morgana Ray, and it is Rich Witch Wednesday. Welcome. I am your host and head witch. I have been a mentor coach for over 25 years. I'm a best-selling author. I am the CEO of a multi-million-dollar coaching company. And even though I love men and will always coach men, for the last 10 years, I've really been focusing on cultivating and supporting world-changing women leaders. And so every Wednesday at 10 a.m. during the pandemic, I am showing up on Facebook Live answering whatever questions come up. So welcome, women or men, whatever the question is. I do have something that I want to talk about today, so I'm going to start with that. And I also have a question that came in ahead of time. And I'll just wait for people to catch up and bring in questions. Hello, Douglas. Mwah. So I've been thinking, first, let's talk about the pandemic. I am 6.5 weeks now into quarantine. My hair is totally hating on me, like roots and ends. And I'm being light about the quarantine and the pandemic, but honestly, it's a lot to process. And for a while, there was a little bit of a honeymoon, when the numbers were still kind of low. It was like, oh, la-di-da, I get to stay home with my husband. Isn't it funny that he had to cancel his trip to Egypt and is staying with me? Thank goodness that the pandemic hit before he went to Egypt and we could have ended up separated. And my heart is just breaking. And on top of that, there's regular life. My husband's brother died last week. I got news that a cousin of my dad's, who I love so much, has 3 to 6 months. So my heart is just breaking. And a thing about grief, because none of us are going to be not experiencing grief over the next year. So grief is love. It's not a bad thing that we want to suppress or get over. We will heal. We will in our way, like the loss, the pain, the longing will always be there. But that's what love feels like. And how glorious it is to have the privilege to have known people worthy of our grief and to love. Yay, love. Okay, so what I was going to talk about, and just type in your questions in the chat, and I see more people coming, and I'll get to the questions, but I wanted to talk about cause and effect, especially, because I'm using terms like witch, which, if you haven't heard, my personal definition of witch is woman in total command of her power. Witch power. So key to any experience of power is agency. That we have some say in our fate and our life and our experience. So we always have this cause and effect dance. Things happen. This virus, that's just like we're playing our video game and boom, this thing just was added to the game. That wasn't our fault individually, but it's part of the game. And you'll hear from the Buddha in India thousands of years ago and Marcus Aurelius in Europe thousands of years ago, and they both said the same thing. It's not what happens to you, it's what you do with it. And that is the definition of moving from being at effect and helpless and hopeless, which is the worst experience in my opinion, to coming over to the cause side of the equation. Stuff happens. It's what you do with it. So even though I talk about slaying your money monster, which is very, very causal, saying, no, this does not belong in my life. I reject this. I slay you. That's very, very agency. When I get emails about, well, I'm doing this and my money honey isn't doing that, then you're slipping back into the effect side of the equation, which is a money monster dynamic. Because really, there is only you. There is only you. The money monster is all of your fear, all of your self-sabotage, all of your wound. Like just the worst, the leaden human experience. The money honey is when you tap into your beyond belief potential. Like now we know that we only use 5% of our brain is conscious and 95% is unconscious. There's so much untapped power and potential there. The money honey helps you communicate and coordinate with the 95% unconscious to get it on board and do things that you didn't know you were capable of. But it still comes back to agency. You have the body. So your money honey isn't going to do it for you. You have the body, and everything I teach, I want to get you back to power. Yes, I see things happen that I can't explain, that really the experience is magical. Why these big amounts of money, these sales that were blocked for years suddenly pop within minutes or hours of transforming your relationship with money, I don't know. We can get into a long philosophical discussion about that. We're not going to because I want to answer questions and help. Mahesh says, what is your topic of your live? This is Rich Witch Wednesday, where you call in if you're feeling stuck, you're needing support, especially around my signature work, relationship with money. You got money monster questions, you have money honey questions, bring them on. And you don't have to limit yourself to that. Are you going crazy at home with your partner? Or lack of partner? Are you trying to figure out what to do with your business during now? Whatever. Are you grieving? Are you afraid? Are you, I don't know. Just ask me a question and we'll see what comes up. I've been a life coach for over 25 years, getting closer to 30 years now. So this is what I do, and this is my public service during quarantine because I just really honestly want to stay connected. So let's see if anything has come in. Oh, it's kind of hard to, I'm bouncing between a computer and a phone because guess what? All of my Apple products decided to expire, right? So my computer has been freezing and needing to be rebooted when I try to do a live. And my phone needed an upgrade too. So in the last week, I've bought a new iPhone and a new computer, and the computer hasn't arrived yet. So let's see if I can find any questions. Greetings from Argentina. Oh my God. I just saw a great deal on a trip to Argentina. So want to go, just go to South America. Question from Amy. Ooh, this is looking good. Let's see if I can see all of it. Okay, Amy writes, I asked my money honey what he wants from me this morning, and I hear, be honest and true to yourself and what you really want for yourself. Yeah, that sounds like a money honey. I literally had the thought I wanted to ask you a question and got your email. I'm so frustrated with my lack of income right now, but it started way before the situation. Any suggestions to switch? Okay, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. There's something very interesting about the pause, and you can panic, and maybe panicking is the beginning of your process, but at a certain point, there's kind of a surrender where you then get to be open to inspiration. So one of my favorite questions, by the way, this is true whether you are scraping by or whether you are making hundreds of millions of dollars, because I have coached the spectrum and you are way more alike than you would expect. One of my favorite questions is when you have this new relationship with money that you trust and you can feel loved by. Money, I'm feeling anxious. This is one of my favorite questions. I'm feeling anxious. What do you want me to do so I can feel less anxious? Because we want to get you in action. We want to relax you so that the noisy limbic reactive brain can quiet down so that the frontal lobe can get activated, because that's where your genius zone is. If you look at yourself through the eyes of your money honey, you will see that you are so much more creative and powerful and resourceful than you new. So this is an opportunity to now get into baby step specifics of what are concrete actions you can try. It's a good opportunity to brainstorm. Bad ideas are welcome. Brainstorm is not the time to get it right. In fact, throw in some bad ideas just for the heck of it. And just, toss ideas to your money honey. Also, if you have trusted human support, if you have a coach or you have a mentor or if you have a mastermind or if you have a community, it's really helpful to have that to bounce off of and then bring it to your money honey as the final analysis, because your money honey knows more than any other person does, because your money honey is like the highest expression of your wisdom and may know things. Some things will look really good on paper, and there's some information that your conscious brain may not have registered, but the rest of you has, that you want to pay attention to. So I've had clients ready to sign a paper in a partnership, and the money honey was no way. And it turns out that partner would have been really bad news. So you can't just stick your imaginary friend under the interrogation lamp and get all your answers handed to you. But what you can do is you can start getting creative and come up with 20, or if you really want to push yourself, 50. That's a lot. How about let's meet in the middle, 30. You want to just come out with ideas. I could sell this, I could promote this, I could invent that, I could blah, blah, I could write to this. You just come up with ideas. And what you want to do is when you run out, this is really important, when you run out, add 10 more. Because when you exhaust the conscious brain, that's when really interesting things can come out. Maybe that's where you will get your gold. If not, who cares? Just do it anyway to see what happens. Because the final step is not just, I talked to my money honey and this is what he said. The final step, step number 6 of a 6-step process, is always concrete, measurable, physical action. When you want physical, real-world results, you need to take physical, real-world action. It's kind of what tells you, the universe, the big you and your subconscious, that you're serious, that this is real. You need to give it physical reality. And by the way, the thing that you do may not be where the money comes from, but I see this all the time, but it lubricates the wheels. So try that. Let's see if anything else came in from you, or it's a little tricky going back and forth. Let's take a look. What is the quickest way to open up flow when energy feels stagnant? Ooh, good question. Get rid of stuff. Seriously. A friend, we've been coaching each other for about 3 years now, and she's been going through mega drama. Not her fault. Again, this cause and effect. It's like the universe has said, we want you to get these lessons now, and so we are going to dump unimaginable challenges on you that would crush anybody else. And it's like a movie. Looks like, oh my God, how is she going to get out of this? Oh no, and this, and this. And it just keeps building, like the fourth act of a movie, and I'm watching her turn it around. And it's really coming from the inside. And one of the quickest, cause and effects that I'm able to see was she fired 2 whiny, difficult, nickel and diming clients who were not even paying her anymore because she had delivered on all of her promises, and they kept wanting more and more and more. And she's so kind and so generous. She kept wanting to give more and more, and it was just sucking her energy. And she finally got the courage to fire them, and she booked a ginormous six-figure client a couple of hours later. I'm just sharing this, total anonymity here. I'm just sharing it as an illustration because I've had the same experience in my life over and over again. When I do the Rich Witch Challenge, I put so much emphasis on getting rid of stuff. It just lightens you. When you say no to where you're settling, and even little tiny things like changing a light bulb or getting rid of like chipped dishes or ratty towels, just nonsense like that, cleaning up the clutter, it releases such an out of proportion amount of energy, and it lifts your energy, and weird stuff happens that way. So that to me is like the easiest way to clear stagnant energy is get rid of anything that feels like settling, because it makes you feel, it doesn't look like a big deal in the grand scheme of things. It's not a big deal, but it lowers your self-esteem very subtly so that you don't even notice it, like you deserve a burnt out light bulb. So I would start with getting rid of anything that is slowing you down. This pandemic, I've been feeling off with my living room since we moved to the house 5 years ago today. Today was moving day of my first owning a house. Earth Day 2015, woohoo! And I love this house. I mean, I never imagined I could afford my dream house in Southern California. Hallelujah. And my husband and I moved in together for the first time here. Instead of him moving into my place, which was twice as big as his place, we moved into our place. Two middle-aged hoarders in love. Two of everything. My beautiful stuff and his junk. Right? Right, ladies? So, and his junk is mostly, we need a second house just for his books. And most of the house is actually, I'm happy with, but the living room always felt claustrophobic and cluttered and busy. And I was, it's just that niggling, a little embarrassed, it looks like a little bit like a college guy's room with the guitars and the books and all. It's just too much stuff. And so pandemic, we just pulled it all out. We've set up his man cave where we can hide the books from me. Even though I love books, I just want one peaceful public place in the house, right? And then it was empty and wrong, and I just slowly moved the stuff that I wanted back in. And now every time I come downstairs and I look in the living room, I feel happy. Like, trivial, but it makes a difference. I just wanted an excuse to share that story. So I'm doing the same thing with my business. I'm like going through all of my programs, and I'm getting rid of stuff, and I'm changing stuff, and I'm upgrading stuff. Nobody can see it yet because it'll be months. But this is what I'm doing behind the scenes, just to so I can be re-excited about my stuff that I love, has gotten great results. I was excited about it when I released it, but I've lived with it for a while and I get bored. So, upgrading and saying no to what no longer fits, what might have fit before but no longer fits. Let go of stuff, which might seem like a really weird thing to say during a pandemic. We're going to be releasing a lot anyway, so what do you want to release voluntarily? Hi from LA. Does the money monster, money honey, need to be a person? Can't find one. Yes, it needs to be a person because we human beings know what it's like to have a relationship with a person. It makes it real. You see things and experience things you don't when it's an abstract concept like money is just an idea. Money actually, honestly, doesn't even really exist. It's just a fantasy that human beings made up and agree upon. But a real living flesh and blood human being, something we can touch, that is something that is real, that we have a lot of. We have emotions, we can smell, touch, taste, feel, hear, all of that, with a person that we can't with an idea, an abstract concept like money. So we do make it a person. And it doesn't have to be a real life human being, because real life human beings have their own limitations. So for example, we don't make the monster a parent, even though that may be very tempting, because I wouldn't ask you or want you to kill your parent. Even pretend. I don't think that that's a good idea or healthy. I know the Hoffman Institute does that, and they didn't ask, so I would adjust that for them. But again, they didn't ask, so they don't have to. But I just, there's a disbelief there. I would never actually kill my parent, and I don't think it's really great to even pretend. So we have a person that is even bigger and badder and all bad, didn't give you life. That's why the monster is not your parent, who may have used your parent to harm you if you had like a really bad experience with your parent or somebody else. So to get to the place where you can imagine money as a monster or of honey, you have to go to a really intense state first. And there's a lot of neuroscience behind this. One of my clients is a neuroscientist who sent me this like epic list of articles and stuff to confirm to show me why what I do works from a scientific standpoint. And when you light up the neurology and you get into a really intense state of, oh my God, this is horrible, like all the bad stuff the money monster does in the world, has done in your life, has done to you, has made you think about yourself, feel about yourself, and it lights up your neurology, and you feel it, and you smell it, and you hear it, and you taste it, and you see it, and it's like it's real to you. Your brain becomes very plastic, and it's the perfect moment to like scratch the record of these feelings and beliefs you've had your whole life that you didn't know you had until you made it a person. And that's when we get to lay down a new track, because your brain is like all the nerves are lit up so you can redirect them. And that's when the monster is gone and rejected, and there's this new space. That's when the money honey can feel as real, and even maybe more so than the money honey. And as bad as the monster was, the money honey is even better. Again, this works whether you are struggling to pay your rent or whether you have hundreds of millions or billions of dollars and a lot of drama and fear of losing it. Because I have coached, and I do coach those clients. There's this idea that, oh, well, if you have a lot of money, you have a great relationship with money. It depends. It depends on your experience. If you're stressed out, if you're sacrificing love or lifestyle or the legacy you want to leave in the world, then it's not a great relationship with money, and something needs to be tweaked. So to make it a person, get more activated, like make the feeling stronger. That also really makes it easier to imagine. I would also start, if you are not an easy visualizer, and I'm not, I would be a little sneaky, and I would start with the feeling. Like when you have that horrible feeling of, oh my God, the world is terrible. Well, how big is this monster? The right answer is really big. Like, does he feel hot or cold? What does he smell like? What is he wearing? And, just getting more and more specific. What does he say to you? What does he whisper in your ear? Stuff like that. That's how I sneak people into experiencing the monster as a person. And then we do something similar on the other side with the honey. And we're at 24 minutes. So I did promise to answer a question that I missed last week. And if I don't get to everything this week, we'll put it into next week. My friend from Spain writes, I have a gorgeous money, honey. Yay. However, self-healing is a priority now. Thus limiting me from doing many things, although my money, honey confirmed that self-healing first and continuing to write my book. But it seems to be postponing the abundance to come. Any suggestions? Okay, so 2 things. We want to get you back into cause. It's a shame that I can't speak to you live, but I would want to know, what is your definition of abundance? And how will you know that you're abundant that is different from right now? I would start practicing preemptive gratitude for the abundance to come. And there's this thing that shows up that is really divine timing. Like, I was looking for my husband for 40 years. I was 45 and I started the quest at 5. I was looking for him for a very long time before I found it, but when I did, it all made sense that it happened right then. Weird things happen. Devin's first book, 10,000 Miles with My Dead Father's Ashes, instant bestseller, huge Hollywood producer, wanted to turn it into a film. Then it fell through because she got an even bigger TV deal she couldn't say no to. And at the time, it was like, oh my God, this is the worst thing that could happen. Actually, no, because we didn't know a pandemic was going to happen and shut down production anyway. So it actually was a blessing on a lot of levels that I can't discuss. Although I love this producer and I still think she's the one. So there's a way in which you have to actively choose to trust the process and not get into fear and when you get into this, what have you done for me lately, money, honey? You contract, you become more fearful, your money, honey, becomes another money monster. So what can you do right now to feel more abundant? Whether it's an action to make more money or a decision to trust that the freedom to be able to take time to heal and write is crazy abundant during a time like this. You know, I wish that I could get more specifics, but what I'm channeling right now is trust your process. I had a client who would set an intention in one of my coaching programs when she'd set a daily intention that I've stolen a million times. I really, really love it, which is trust the process and choose love and magic. I think that when you trust more, things will loosen up and open up for you. And always put yourself back on the cause side of the equation. If you aren't seeing results, what action can you take even with your current situation? Don't do stuff that's going to hurt your shoulder, obviously, but limitation is the greatest thing to ever happen to creativity. Like, we become so much more innovative when we are facing a problem, when we are facing a limitation. We don't have enough structure. We're just kind of floating out in space when everything is possibility. But the more rules you have, the more ingenious you get. So let's just decide that all these things are happening for you, because that's a really good way to look at things, to get you back on the cause side so that you can look at, well, how can I use it? If I trusted myself, if I trusted my money, honey, if I trusted the process and life, what wants to happen here? A dear friend of mine, a fellow coach, decades ago, came up with this awesome process that he calls the GROW process. Robert Silverstone. It's gratitude, release, openness, and willingness. Like, really simple. And he's been able to make a whole business out of it. And he was telling me a story about when he was in the garment industry, and he had spent all this money on a trade show and none of his clothes had shown up. like, oh my God, the worst thing that could happen. And he decided something wonderful is happening. He just decided it. He told himself that. He said something wonderful is happening here. And because the garments didn't show up the way they were supposed to, he was forced to get away from his booth and talk to everybody there and made way more sales. So that's your homework. Something wonderful wants to happen here. And that is the spell that we are casting today. And I will see you again next week on Rich Witch Wednesday. Mwah! Namaste, witches.